What's up, my friends? U.S. Army veteran Christopher Chaos. Welcome to an all-new video. It's a video game video, I guess, kind of. Well, we're talking about a military-related video game that the creators had contacted me a while back, asking if I'd be interested in maybe doing some, projects with them, doing some different things with them. And this is kind of the first thing that they've kind of included me inside of that I want to be able to share with you guys, my viewers. So this game is called 6 Days in Fallujah, and it is based on some real events that happened during the Iraq War, and we'll dive into some of the exclusive content they sent me. Now, not exclusive to me, but exclusive to whoever else they sent this to, because I'm not the only one they sent this to, I don't think. But other people have this, but I'm sharing this now with you guys, my viewers. Now, we're gonna mainly focus on some of the content that they sent me for this exclusive type of thing. If you want more of a deep dive into the game, some history of it, some other sorts of information about the game, I'm gonna link down in the description box down below to another fellow military YouTuber I was recently on his podcast, the Scuttlebutt Show. And if you wanna see his video that he kind of does a deep dive into some of the press release of when this game was kind of announced and everything like that, I think this was earlier in this year, check that video out. It's a great video and you can learn a lot about the game, but we'll kind of focus a little bit about the game, but also diving into that special content that they sent me information about. So we're gonna change up views here. I'm gonna come over to the computer. That way we can kind of look at this press release that they sent me, talk about some of the things they outline in there. Also have some video footage that they sent me for me to include to show you guys. So we'll check out some of that video footage as well. So just a quick kind of rundown of the game. It's based in Fallujah, which is a city in Iraq. So the quote from it is, it talks about that 6 Days in Fallujah recreates true stories from 2004's Second Battle of Fallujah with the help of more than 100 Marines, soldiers, and Iraqi civilians who were present during the battle. It is scheduled to be released on PC and console in late 2021. So we'll see how things kind of develop. I know I did hear that this game originally was supposed to come out a long time ago. I think like 5-10 years ago, something like that. I don't remember exactly the date. And then it kind of got postponed, just controversy and certain other things, I think, that kind of held it back. And now it's back on track and under a new leadership, I think, as far as I think the people that's releasing the game. I think it's the same creators, but I think it's different people that are releasing the game. But we'll see how it kind of unfolds this time and see if it actually does debut. But let's talk about some of the new features that they're talking about in this press release that they sent me. So one of the key things that they're highlighting in this new features kind of a thing, something that's different from other shooter games. It's not just your average shooter game that they're trying to put out here. One of the features is this procedural architecture. So it's procedurally generating the interior and exterior of the buildings. Other game creators have done this before with like planets. For example, a game that I enjoy, which is No Man's Sky, that has a whole procedurally generated universe. So you go to these different planets and it's different. For the most part, at least with No Man's Sky, it usually ends up being like you land on one planet and maybe the trees are blue, and where the other planet, the trees are red, and minor things here and there. So yes, it does procedurally generate different environment, but sometimes it's just subtle things here and there. I don't know if that's the case with this one or if it's pretty extreme. We'll have to wait until we get a little bit more in-depth footage. I have some footage that I will show you, but we'll have to see when the game actually officially comes out to see if it's more like how No Man's Sky is or if it's actually something completely new, because this is with interior. It even talks about this article how no other real game companies have really done interiors. They've done planets and they've done exteriors and like the foliage and everything like that, but not really interior of buildings to kind of make it different every single time. So that will make things interesting. The key thing they're trying to do that with is to make it so that you can't just go play through a level, right? Because this will be part of the campaign of the game. And you play through the level and you get killed and you're like, okay, I know that behind this door, there's a bad guy and I can shoot him. Well, when you go into the building the next time, the building's not going to be the same. So it definitely does kind of throw a little bit of difficulty into it. But I think it's the goal that they kind of outlined is it's trying to make it more realistic, because these soldiers, these Marines or whoever will go into these buildings not really knowing what to expect when they go inside. Soldiers and probably Marines do the same thing where they scout out the terrain, the area and everything like that. But unless they already have someone on the inside that knows the layout of the building or they have blueprints or something like that, they're going into that room for the very first time, into that house for the very first time. And so it's all new to them and they have to kind of figure out how they're going to kind of go about clearing each room and, searching it or whatever they're going to do for the mission. So this kind of adds that element to it right there, to where If you failed the first time, you don't just get to be like, oh, I remember how that building was laid out, so I can make it a little easier this time. It's going to be each time a little bit different and a little bit more challenging because it won't be the exact same way. So I kind of like that aspect. That sounds pretty interesting. So we'll kind of get into the video they sent me that kind of talks about that. It starts off kind of looking like a documentary. It has like the experience from some Marines and soldiers kind of talking about what it was like raiding these rooms, and it shows a little bit of, you know, game footage. I don't know if it's actual gameplay or if it's some kind of like fancy, you know, generated thing to make it look the best they possibly can. I don't know that part of it, but it does kind of show off how the idea of procedurally generated interior buildings would kind of work. All right, so let's dive into the video footage and let's kind of check out what they have going on here.
The person who goes in first is never wrong. They have the most to fear.
And as soon as I walk in, I see a machine gun right in front of my face, maybe 10 feet, 15 feet from me.
Every time we would go into one of those buildings, you never know what to expect.
You don't know the layout of the house until you get in there. And then you still don't know it until you go all the way through it.
Room clearing, house clearing, it's different every single time.
Marines and soldiers never knew what was waiting for them behind the next door. And if you want a realistic experience, neither can you.
Makes sense.
6 Days in Fallujah reshapes the battlefield every time you play. Each room, each building, even the entire neighborhood is generated procedurally. Every map is a new map. So just like actual combat, you'll never know what to expect.
Sounds pretty interesting if you ask me. So definitely something interesting, right? Those graphics look cool if that's what the graphics are going to look like. I don't know if, like I said, that's like the cinematics or if that's just like a beefed up version of what the graphics could look like. But if that is what they look like, I think it looks pretty good. Probably on par with like maybe Call of Duty, maybe certain things, but just kind of looking at it just quickly in that glance, graphics look good. Not really something I would really complain about, you know, nothing that's gonna, you know, look like something from a game from the past. You know, it looks like a modern day game, so the graphics look pretty good if that is what the graphics are gonna look like. So I like that idea. I think it seems pretty cool. I think it'll be pretty interesting to try that out and kind of get involved with the game, you know, get embraced into it, and then just kind of the anxiety of not knowing what it's going to be like. Even if you already went through that level, right? You already tried that mission, failed it, now you're going through it again. It's not going to be the same, you know, the next time you go through it. So I think that'll definitely add some really cool kind of, you know, realism to that battle. Me personally, I've only been on one raid. I've talked about it in a video before. It wasn't anything as intense as what anybody went through in that battle for Fallujah. But still, nonetheless, I can sort of, kind of, you know, somewhat relate in some ways where I was going inside this pool house and yeah, I didn't know what the layout of the building. I know, you know, some aerial footage that I saw of it or some aerial photos of what the area looked like, but the interior, I didn't know what any of it looked like. So as we're going through and kind of checking the rooms and stuff, it was big mystery. I didn't know what to expect and does definitely get your heart racing. So maybe if that game can capture that even a little bit, I think that'll be pretty cool. In the press release, it mentions that like the environment we reshape during like the solo campaign. So the maps are regenerated each time you respawn. So you die, everything is going to get kind of regenerated. Some people, you know, may have the question, and even answers it in here, as to how can you recreate a scenario that's supposed to be realistic from real events if it changes. So like in here, they kind of, you know, mentioned that, you know, what side the door was on, where a lamp was positioned doesn't really change the scenario. The mission may be based on a true story or something that really happened, but to give you that realism, the layout of the building is not going to probably be exactly the way it was in that real actual story, but it is kind of randomly generated to give you that kind of adrenaline of not knowing what to expect when you first enter that building or that room. There is this other thing that they briefly talk about. They say that they're going to be kind of focusing on it more in depth in the future to kind of give more information about it, and that is this thing called the Go command. So I'm going to read like the paragraph that they kind of talk about the Go command that kind of explains about it, but until we kind of see some video footage of it, it sounds interesting, but we'll have to see some actual gameplay of what it looks like in action to see if it is pretty cool or if it's, you know, misses the mark or whatever. But here's what they kind of say about it in this release. So the Go command lets the players aim, push the Go button, and the game figures out what AI teammates are supposed to do based on what you're pointing at. The go command is also useful during co-op multiplayer. So it does mention, just in case you were wondering, that there is a multiplayer. I don't know if it's just a co-op multiplayer or if it's going to have anything like, Call of Duty where it's like, team deathmatch or whatever. It may just be a co-op kind of thing, maybe like squads is, or like certain other things maybe. I don't really know that information yet. The go command allows players to execute true fire and maneuver tactics. Players can direct their team to fix enemies in place with suppressive fire, allowing players to flank the suppressed target. Also, I guess features they'd allow them to do like stack on the door, breach a room, watch a particular vulnerability, achieve fire superiority, all sorts of like tactics type of things. So, maybe allowing it to where maybe the AI isn't stupid like it is in some games, where you can actually have some of the AI that's with you do actual tactics. Lay down suppressive fire, I think is pretty cool. Having them guard an area so you don't just get shot in the back because the AI is just doing whatever the hell they do sometimes. So if it works the way they kind of make it sound like, that could be pretty cool. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? If this is something where they let me demo it maybe during beta testing or something like that, is that something you want to see? Maybe do some live streams and kind of play the game and kind of play through the demo or play through the beta they allow me to do, if that's even something they let me do. Is this a game that maybe you might be interested in playing? Does it sound interesting to you? Let me know down in the comments down below. Do you think that other bigger franchises like Call of Duty or certain other ones have already kind of capitalized on this market and nobody else can really kind of come in and kind of compete with those guys at this point? Or do you feel like this one maybe could be something potentially to compete with those bigger markets of like Call of Duty or, whatever types of tactical ones? I mentioned Call of Duty because that's obviously like the biggest one, but do you think it can compete at that level? So we're going to end it here. Check out some links down in the description box for social media and all that stuff. I got some recommendation videos right here. I think it's the right side, right? If you want to check out some more content from me, thanks for hanging out. I'm Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya.